Because you're saying he's guilty because it's too many clouds.
He's guilty of being a piece of shit. Now, what we can prove in court, I don't know.
Piece of shit how though? No, I'm not being dumb. That's a serious question.
I do think that he has sexually abused people for his own gain and use that as leverage over people, which I'm not comfortable with somebody doing that. If somebody's doing that, I'm okay with you losing your finances, your freedom if it gets
as a
that
person
bad.
of power and status.
Yeah, if you're basically leveraging people, and then the drug thing, I'm not really sympathetic on drugs. Like if you choose to do drugs, I hope it goes badly for you personally. That's just my thing.
There's been a lot of like different updates, but I haven't seen anything like, hey, Diddy's been picked up and charged and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean the last video I saw, he was like walking around at the airport down there in South Florida.
Oh, looking sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I seen that. Yeah, he looking sick.
But it's been a lot of people around him that's been implicated. You know what I mean? And we talked about off air the Young Miami with the pink cocaine that's saying that she was a drug mule for him.
And if somebody knows something about that, like put that in the comments. What is pink cocaine? I'm curious. So drop that in the comments if you know.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. Yeah, I mean, like all sorts of people are being implicated for all sorts of stuff. So, and then there's that.
Kobe says it's Molly.
Oh, okay.
There you
So
go.
we were talking though the other night though that like there's people out there. There's like murmurings that like Jay-Z's gonna be next in this sort of everything everything comes down on you, or Justin Bieber might be next in this, and it's like, who the hell knows? I'm kind of at the point now though where like, if this is really like, if this behavior is the gateway to success in entertainment, I'm all for blowing it up.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna Jeffrey Epstein him? Like they're trying to?
They should. Why not? Yeah.
Realistically, it's like scapegoat status.
No. I'm saying if okay, so one way to look at this is Diddy's behavior. It's not isolated. It's like this whole thing that you hear, like casting couches, Harvey Weinstein. It's almost like this narrative that if you want to advance, kind of like Cat Williams was saying, if you want to advance your career in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, you do weird sexual shit at the behest of others.
Mm-hmm.
If that's really the real deal, I'm all for blowing it up. Dig as far as you need to, get these people under the jail, and blow the whole industry up if you have to. Start from scratch.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I was saying, what if it's at the
it's not gonna, but like whatever. I mean, just
But you're all for like plucking these big name guys out that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
If it is Diddy, if it is Jay-Z, if it is whatever,
if it's
whoever, Epstein, all these guys. I understand that point, and I'm with that. But my thing is, what's crazy because I'm reading these articles that saying like even if Diddy is innocent. Like he's already screwed. Like,
I think we're past that.
You're past whether he's innocent or guilty.
Yeah, he's guilty.
Of what though?
Of all sorts of
because maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't run like these sex trafficking things, but maybe he was running drugs. That might be believable. Then what? Is all of this worth what he's going through for that?
You're not okay. But what are we saying he's doing? I think you look at the totality of this and say, this is a guy that elevated to a position of power, and he basically created this area of drugs and sexual abuse and mistreatment of people. And is he guilty of that? I think 100% certainty. He wouldn't be behaving as he is if he was innocent. But then you say, okay, well, how do we? I mean, and this is always the issue. How do you prosecute somebody? Because when you prosecute somebody, you have to charge them with a specific crime, and those crimes have specific elements that need to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That becomes a challenge because now you're relying, do you have enough evidence to prove a specific charge beyond a reasonable doubt, or prove multiple charges beyond a reasonable doubt, and each charge has its elements. I've like recently had this thing with like, we hear the term sex trafficking, and for me, like, to be honest, like, I envision sex trafficking as that movie where you're like literally like just taking kids off the street,
I'm gonna
kidnapping
find
them
you.
under
I'm gonna get you.
taken, or well, now there's another one. It was like based on a real guy. Like Sounds of Freedom or something, and it's just like they have all these crazy pretexts where they're getting these kids in, all over the world, like in shitty neighborhoods and financially distressed situations, low socioeconomic things, and they're literally like, taking these kids and they're shipping them here and selling them there and putting them on islands and hotels to be sexually abused by adults. Like, that's the way I envision sex trafficking. I have a hard time connecting it to, and I'm not saying that an of-age person cannot be raped or sexually assaulted. Not saying that. I just, when you hear sex trafficking to me, I'm thinking you're like literally like kidnapping and absconding with people and putting them in horrible situations. But like when you're talking about essentially, adults who could conceivably consent to activities, I don't know that I'm comfortable defining that as sex trafficking. I'm more content with, okay, this may have been a sexual assault at some point, or this may have gotten to a rape at some point, but the whole sex trafficking. But again, what is the sex trafficking? What are the elements of that would have to be proven for him to be found guilty?
What you think, Mar? You think it's too
Man, no, I was peeping. Hey, I was listening to Pinky, man. He was hitting that. But I could say, when I look at it I'm just gonna look at it like this. Let's look at it like this. Because I'd be asking myself, like, okay, would you sell your soul? Would you sign a contract? Like, some people, especially coming from like a black man in a impoverished neighborhood where people are dying every fucking day, you won't even hesitate to think like, okay, I get to be immune, rich, and famous, and have all these benefits for 20. Let's just say 20. Say I signed it at 25. By the time I'm 50, it's like you're guaranteed to have to be sacrificed as a lamb, as far as for, you know what I'm saying? It'd be the scapegoat. You know what I'm trying to say? And I can look at it like this year's crazy because you got Cat Williams exposing shit. You got that Nickelodeon Drake off of Drake and Josh just came out with that. Yeah. He's talking about what's going on with Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider came out with his interview.
I don't like. So Dan Schneider is like, he's like what, the producer of those, one of those Nickelodeon
he used to
shows?
do all the ones like Zoe 101, all the ones with the little kids. And
okay.
All
so
the
he
ones
was
that
like the producer of all that.
Yeah,
and he was
bunch of eerie photos
to
of them sitting in his lap. And like very alluding stuff, and he even came out with an interview to kind of, you can tell like when the subpoena comes, he already tried to set up. So I look at it like right now, like whether Diddy's guilty or not, or if he's a scapegoat or not, which I'm sure he is, because if you're in that position, you already know what's coming. You might as well like enjoy the trip at that point on some inevitability. You might as well. And you remember when P. Diddy was going crazy on the Joker on the Halloween? He was channeling whatever deity. You know what I'm saying? So he's a real sick. These are like satanic motherfuckers that are doing rituals. And so when I look at it through that perspective, this year is just one of them years of expose. I don't know exactly what the end goal is, if it's distracting us because it's 2024. I'm sure they're gonna hit us with all the buttons. We got an election coming up. So I don't necessarily know what their end goal is, but I can definitely, what happens in the light, or what happens in the dark comes to light. And like, as someone who's spiritual and it gets religious at that point, it's only pointing signs to like, oh, this is end times, second coming of Jesus level. You know, we got AI ushering in. It's all getting crazy right in front of us. But when you really look at the P. Diddy thing specifically, though, yeah, it's just believable. I think it's ritualistic. I think he's seen it coming. Just like with Andrew Tate, it's like what they'll do is they'll assassinate your character publicly and create that atmosphere first, just to have the masses thinking that you're guilty, even if you weren't guilty. Then they'll try you in court.
Well, Andrew was guilty of smashing the buff white guy. I mean, he got caught red-handed. He didn't see that coming.
Wait,
No, not Andrew. Whoa. I was thinking about the other Andrew, not Andrew Tate. I'm tripping. I'm tripping.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew, the FAMU Andrew. The political,
Gillum.
Andrew.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like,
not Andrew Tate.
No.
I'm tripping.
I got
But
you.
listen, on the Diddy thing, too, it's like, I thought the man was fucking rich by now. Like, not to say that any time is so good for fucking having people be drug mules and they saying some of the whatever, but it's like, damn, don't you have enough money now? I mean, do you have to still be doing this stuff,
Well,
or
what-
is this
so-
from 20 years ago, or is this stuff he was actively doing now?
Well, what? Okay, so what is the drug mule thing? I mean, what again? Like, what are we talking about? Because it's okay if a guy has.
Well,
a
that's more
life-
plain. That's more plain than the
Well, no,
sex trafficking stuff.
what I'm saying is this: if a guy has a lifestyle where he entertains a lot of people, and cocaine and Molly are all a part of that scene, are you basically acquiring drugs for your benefit? Or are you trafficking drugs to others like your Carlos?
Yeah, it's too many. It's for financial gain, because I don't care how big your fucking party is. If you have a party, you can obtain enough cocaine for your party throughout, for whatever days that you're doing the parties. He's utilizing people. He had the one basketball player allegedly, and all these people that they're naming that were drug mules that were basically used for getting drugs from another country and bringing it here, and it has to be for financial gain. Now we don't know that for sure.
Well, see, okay, that's what I'm not sure about, because I mean, we've always had the notion of like, when we see a guy get like a high-profile guy get like busted for possession or something like that, you're like, well, why the hell are you carrying this stuff? You should have somebody do that. And so my initial take was,
but some of these
mule
other
thing,
people,
my initial take on the mule thing was like, maybe Diddy's actually smart enough to have other people bring the drugs to wherever he wants them to be, and so he's never in transit with drugs.
Because
Kingpin status.
the quantities are so large to where it's just.
But what are the quantities? Because I haven't heard that.
Well, only because it's so many people. It's not. I haven't seen like a fucking number as far as the amount or anything. But it's just so many people. It's and so many times that they've been implemented of doing these things, doing these trips and making trips. It's just not enough cocaine parties to fulfill that. It has to be for financial gain. That's the only way it would make sense.
Well, I heard a story on a podcast that like at his house, like he had like the staff, and the staff were basically instructed to wear fanny packs at all times with the drugs in them, so that anybody in the house that needed a drug, you just go to like, the maid, the cook or whatever, and say, hey man, I need some stuff, and it was available to you. So
if that is the case, then is he guilty of what?
Well, I don't know. Like that's kind of what I'm not sure, because we have this massive pile of bad behavior. How is it going to be broken down, like I was saying, into actual criminal charges?
But my point is, because you're saying he's guilty, it's because it's too many clouds.
He's guilty of being a piece of shit. Now, what we can prove in court, I don't know.
Piece of shit how though? No, I'm not being dumb. That's a serious question.
I do think that he has sexually abused people for his own gain, and use that as leverage over people, which I'm not comfortable with somebody doing that. Mm-hmm. If somebody's doing that, I'm okay with you losing your finances, your freedom, if it gets
as a
that
person
bad.
of power and status.
If you're basically leveraging people, and then the drug thing, I'm not really sympathetic on drugs. Like, if you choose to do drugs, I hope it goes badly for you personally. That's just my thing. And, cocaine or whatever is against the law. So if you're in possession of it, technically you committed a crime. If you've transported over state lines, or you actually have distributed like you think it might be going on, then that's a crime and you should be prosecuted for that. It is what it is. But this is not a guy, I think, that is, I just look at it, I think he's just done a lot of horrible shit.
Yeah.
I heard a story today. It was one of those dudes. He's I forget, like he's like a media guy, and he was telling a story that, and it was a lot like the Columbus short story. He was saying that he knew Diddy, like personally. He asked Diddy to get his nephew an internship. His nephew, or Diddy's like, sure.
Yeah, I saw that story.
And then he's like, a couple months into it, he's like, hey, I want you to stay the night with me, or the internship's over. Like, that's just fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, that's just horrible.
Yeah, and then when you think about, they're saying that all these other people that may be implicated down the line, Jay-Z or Justin Bieber, whatever. The thing is, like, all of these people who have been around Diddy for so long, like they if there was anything going on, they saw it. Like, it's almost like the R. Kelly thing. Like the people that were around him, that you're seeing this stuff every day.
Well, you know what it's like? It's like Penn State football. You had that Jerry
them too.
Sandusky,
Yeah.
who was like the defensive coordinator there for 25 years with Joe Paterno the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you're going to say that Joe Paterno knew nothing,
Yeah.
like had zero suspicions about this guy over 20 plus years.
And he was molesting boys.
molesting
Right?
boys, yeah, and like all sorts of weird stuff. Like you knew nothing. I mean, come on, it's just not believable at that point.
It's just
you
not.
know?
It's just not. It's just not.
I mean, at some point, and the criminal justice system doesn't always work this way, but at some point, common sense has to come into play. Like, how do humans behave? How do they interact? And if you're around somebody, how long can they kind of hide something from you and you have no clue?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. And like the reality is, like, there have been weird stories about him circulating for many, many, many years. This is not like the first time something strange has happened. And I tend to believe, like, I mean, to me, all of these people, like Michael Jackson, there was stories until whatever. R. Kelly, there was stories, and then whatever. Like, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that that's a human thing. Like, we can't hide who we are all the time. You can hide it, here or there, but when the body of work is long enough, you can't hide what you are. And if you like little boys, or you like cocaine, or you like young girls, or whatever, like, it's gonna come to light.